Oh man, we's just struggling today. Whew. Hey everybody, Alex here, and welcome to another video. Midwest Gaming Classics pickups. It's the day after the show. I haven't taken a shower. I feel like an exhausted piece of shit, and I'm currently doing my meal prep for the week. Well, as these things go, the show must go on. So we're doing an all-American Midwest Gaming Classic pickup video so I can put all this shit away and bring it off to the storage unit, as some of it will end up going over there. But just some quick thoughts about the show. Second time going, so much fun. I really enjoy the group that I go with. I would dare say Emperor Fox is like one of the best convention game hunting wingmen ever. I think at one point we both dropped like a lot of money, and I was like, true friendship is through enablement. And it's like, yeah, when we go through this stack of stuff, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But I think like the difference between this year and the year before was, I know some people were like, oh, video game prices are coming down and stuff. I think they're the same, to be completely honest. But also, when you're at a convention like this, there were a couple of spots that were stores. And, like, one of them, I tried to haggle with, and he's like, my store's out of DC. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're dealing with, like, East Coast rent. Like, whatever you can do, which truthfully wasn't really that much, it's still appreciated. But it's like, you have to draw the line somewhere. I totally get that from a business perspective. But for the most part, people were always willing to haggle. Some of them came to expect it. Who would even just lead off with, if you're paying cash, I can do this. But there were a couple, I don't even remember the name of that particular table, but they had a bag of stuff that Emperor Fox had seen off to the side, and he'd asked about one particular game, and the girl said, oh yeah, that's because this bag came late, we didn't have a chance to price it. And he was like, okay. So the owner of the booth came over, and he shot off an offer, and the guy just went, nope. And then he shot off a little bit of a better offer, and the guy just said, nope. I'm like, he's not moving it. Like, it's literally one of those things where he realized, truthfully, he fucked up and left the bag open, and it was a turbo game, which there were not a lot of at the show, except for like one booth. So it was really in his best interest just to flat out deny anything until he had time to look at it. The problem was, it was towards the end of the day on Saturday, so it's like on Sunday when everybody's dragging ass after the after parties and all that stuff, I don't necessarily know if you're going to move it or not, but hey, your business, not mine. But for me, in terms of video game collecting at this point, it's not over, but I consider it over because I'm kind of just picking up odds and ends. And there's a few things I just want just because I think they would be really fun to have. But then there's also my rule of, if there's a fan translation, I have to own the game legitimately for me to actually say I beat it. Like, that's my thing. So that could mean a Japanese game. That could mean, not necessarily like a reproduction or anything, but like region doesn't matter to me, like stuff like that. Just as long as I have it, I don't care about the method behind it. So anyway, enough flim-flam. So we're going to do arts and crafts, and then we're going to do expensive cardboard, and then we're going to do decently priced plastic, some more odds and ends, and then some paper products. So one of the things I wanted to get coming into this show was more perler stuff for my desk where I do my work all the time. And somebody was nice enough to make these for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth of Cloud and Tifa. $15 for both. Not too bad, if you ask me. Now onto the cardboard here. I don't really have this in any particular order. I kind of just have it in size order. So we're just going to roll with it. Okay, so ignore the pricing on all these. Obviously, a bunch of these were negotiated. Some of them weren't. First up, we have Napoleon on the Game Boy Advance. This is a real-time strategy game that's actually based on Napoleon, believe it or not. It's had a fan translation for several years. And a lot of people say, I'm very finicky when it comes to RTS games on like consoles and stuff. Like, my brain just doesn't function like that. But a lot of people have compared it to like your Nobunaga's Ambition and just saying since it's RTS as opposed to turn-based, it's a little bit more active, and it's also historically accurate, and there's a lesson behind it. I do believe it was released in Europe as well, only, as well as Japan, but the fan translation, I think, is basically just taking it from French into English, essentially. At least I'm pretty sure it was France only, but I can't remember. Anyway, the long roundabout way of saying this has actually been on my wish list for a while, and PlayAsia actually had it for $30. I picked up at the show for 15. One of the things I did want to get at this show was a complete box copy of Star Tropics and Zoda's Revenge. Unfortunately, I did not find a copy of Star Tropics, but I did find Zoda's Revenge, so my card-only copy will have to be parted ways with, but I really enjoyed the first Star Tropics, and if you've never played it, you should definitely look into it. It's definitely an RPG that was designed for the Western market. I love Crystallis. I kind of attribute it as more of a teenage 90s version, teenage 90s movie version of Crystallis, since, you know, pretty much it's a kid just running around. It's basically like a bunch of US-based jokes. Zoda's Revenge is a direct sequel, Zoda being the crime villain from the first one. Essentially, a lot of the same, but better, and the controls are now 8 directions instead of 4. And then these, truthfully, I had both of these as a kid, and I actually owned this card only, so I was happy to pick this up. And this one is also complete. I don't know what it is. I've been like on this very weird Star Wars kick recently, just like looking back at all the old stuff, and Shadows of the Empire is actually my personal favorite, which was kind of funny when I think about me only having the card. I was like, why didn't I get the box version of this? I got this for Christmas with my N64, or after I got my N64. I got it at that first Christmas, and I played this game so much, and truthfully, I honestly think Dash Rendar is better than Han Solo. And then Rogue Squadron, you needed the expansion pack for this one. It was a big to-do back in the day. It eventually got a PC port, and I know the PC port is technically better, but this is the version I played first. I did not pay $40 for this. I ended up paying $30, and it is box complete. With the Star Wars, it didn't have the manual, but as these things go, I found a stack of manuals, and I'm actually really lucky when it comes to going through stacks of manuals, and I was like, oh, there's no way in hell there isn't a Shadows of the Empire in here, and sure enough, there it was. So this is Front Mission Gun Hazard. This one doesn't have the manual. This is a Leap Kid game, and it is one in the Front Mission series I've wanted to play for a while. It's more of a side-scrolling run-and-gun sort of thing. But for me to actually say I finished it, I have to own it. So now I'm pretty much caught up on all the Front Mission stuff. Box complete copy of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 on the Super Famicom. I do own this on the Game Boy, or is it the Game Boy Color? It's one or the other. Honestly, it's not that that version is bad, to be completely honest, but this has Akira Toriyama artwork on it, not this weird 3D bullshit that they tossed on that. And truthfully speaking, there is a fan translation of this one anyway. So if I were to play it, I would probably toss it on the Analog Pocket and do it that way, if not the Super NT or something like that. I was originally, because I actually have not played DQ1 or 2. No, I lie. I've played 1, never finished 1. But the Switch version is just so bad. I'm sorry. I got them both. I got the trilogy on like sale on the eShop some time ago, and I sight unseen, I waste of money. They just look terrible, and there's this weird shimmer that should not be there, if you ask me. Now this one just had a fan translation come out a few months ago. This is part of the Far East of Eden series. This is Far East of Eden 0. This is like a prequel to the whole thing, and ironically, this came out on the Super Famicom and not the PC Engine. This was $20 complete. Didn't really bother to haggle on this one just because it was such a good deal. But yeah, it's more Far East of Eden, and since Cosmic Star Fantasy is getting a collection through limited run because of weird shit with the English localization, I imagine Far East of Eden isn't that far off. So I'm waiting anxiously for that so I can go through the whole series. Considering this one has a fan translation, I do imagine it's only a matter of time before the next batch do. We already have one of them on the PC Engine or Turbo 16 through Working Designs anyway. I also picked up some useless plastic in the Lucina amiibo, and then Emperor Fox and I had done a trade some time ago, and I got a Ganondorf amiibo from him. I've actually parted ways with a majority of my Nendoroids and a majority of my Figmas, because honestly they're just fucking dust traps for me, and every time I try to move anything on the shelf they fall over, the hands fall, the hair falls out, the accessories fall out. I try to put them back, I wake up later on in the day from a nap or something and they're tipped over. It got so freaking annoying that I was just like, you know what, I stopped doing amiibos, they take up less space, they're stationary, and there's nothing to do with them. So if I like Lucina, for instance, who's one of my favorite Fire Emblem characters, then I will just use these because it is still me showing that I appreciate the series. And going to Nintendo World a couple of days ago recently, they did like a massive restock on like every single amiibo almost, so I cleaned up over there too. Mostly on the Pokemon ones, but I also picked up Sephiroth, which I didn't have. And then over here we have the Ignition Factor through Jaleco. Otherwise, I forgot what the Super Famicom name is. It's like Fireman, I think, or Fireman's Challenge or something like that. It's basically a run and gun, but you're a fireman instead. And it's isometric, not like your Nuclear Blaze, which came out from the Dead Cells guy on the Switch, and I think it's on PS4 as well. That game's pretty cool, but it's also like 45 minutes if you're interested in playing a firefighter. But this has been on my list for a long time. It's not that expensive. I just never see it. And this gentleman had it as well as some other stuff. And our negotiation was kind of funny because I threw out a number and then he said, all right, what about this? And I said, I think you can do a little bit better than that. He goes, I thought that was my best. And I go, oh, well, what if I'm paying cash? He goes, that's me assuming you have cash. And I go, okay, well, I would like to have more cash for the rest of the show. And then he was like, okay, fine. He was like, I'll do it. He's like, I'll do it. He's like, he even said, like, people who come looking for Super Famicom stuff, it's a very specific collector. And when I told him, yeah, I'm just very much into fan translations and I like to own a legit, he was like, yeah, he agreed to that. So he was like, all right. He's like, I got you. And again, it's a conversation. You know, just because somebody doesn't throw an offer you want doesn't mean that you're obligated to accept it. You can always walk away. And as a matter of fact, I started to walk away from one deal and the guy was like, well, what if I meet you down the middle? And I was like, well, what if I do cash? And he was like, I'll still meet you down the middle. And I said, okay, I think I'll pass then. And then his coworker was like, dude, he's asking for an extra $5. Who cares? Like, we would have given it to the credit card company anyway, you know? So I know sometimes people don't like negotiating. Personally, I do it a lot. And to me, I'm numb to it. And there was a lot of stuff I saw where I just went, nah. And then they're like, well, what are you thinking about? I go, what I'm thinking about you're not willing to do. Without even asking them. Like, I would be insulting. So, which brings me to my next point. The one table I was mentioning that the guy really couldn't negotiate at all, other than, like, maybe $10. Death Jr., which I have to attribute to Rusty for doing a song challenge on his podcast, The Otaku Brothers, some time ago. And this was the one damn song that was played that I could not, or sound effect that I couldn't figure out. So ever since then, my dude, I've been looking for this game because it sounded interesting. Like after like you mentioned, I was like, oh, I never heard about that. And then I looked up gameplay. I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. Then I find out there's like 8 of them. And I thought it was originally. I think I thought it was Death Quest or whatever that roguelike-y thing is on the Switch. But apparently it's this, and it's from Konami. Also picked up a copy of Croc, Legend of the Gobos. I had this as a kid. I know this is like kind of... It's kind of average, but I'll be honest, it's very charming anyway, and I showed some gameplay to my wife after I sent her a picture of this, and she goes, ooh, I'd play that. Is that for me? And I was like, no, it's for me. But, you know, excellent looking copy, but what I did find funny when I took it out to inspect it, there's an ad for Croc 2 with Croc 1. Now, I don't know if that's because this is a reprint or later on, or they just got in over their heads, or they were like, yo, we have a banger on our hands, and then everybody's like, oh, okay, kind of 50-50. This was $5, Spectrobes Origins. Also complete. I was very surprised. This was like Disney trying to do Pokemon, admittedly, and it's very kiddie. I'm not even joking. But it's oddly charming and good. It's one of those things you play, you're like, this has no business being as good as it is. So there's 3 of them. There's 2 on the DS, and then there's 1 on the Wii, obviously. And this one's more of like a 3D style, I'll say, kind of like your, like your Digimon World sort of thing, like the New World Order sort of bit. But I will be doing these in order. I think this is a prequel, but this was the last one to be made. I have to double check that before I actually get into them. Also, oddly, actually, I have to pull all these out at the same time, which is admittedly only 2. Sonic Rivals 2 and Sonic Rush Adventure. I do not know why the Rush games, or Rush Adventure specifically, is like now $40 normally. I remember buying it years ago for like $14.99 used, like during the height of the video game boom. And something happened. Maybe it's these movies. I have no idea. But the Rush games, I mean, honestly, I tried playing them. I tried playing the advanced games, and something about the graphics style, like that weird handheld pixelated 3D look, just visually kind of turns me off. But then I see the sense of speed, and I'm kind of like, all right, I think I can get behind this now. I clearly wasn't in the mood. Like, that must be it. So I've been looking for this one for a very long time. This was actually on my Secret Santa list as well. And then Rivals 2, I've had Rivals 1 forever. And even with Rivals 2 here, this was $25. I did not know why. And I managed to talk the guy down to 20 from my initial offer of 15. Which admittedly was a very jerky move. Like, I realized it was a very jerky move. But these games, they see, there's a bundle collection of 1 and 2, which I did see at the show. And that was like $100. Doesn't make sense to me. But these games are essentially standard 2D Sonic platforms with some 3D elements. They're kind of like 2.5D-ish. And it's all his friends. So yeah, it's one of those things. You either like it or you hate it. My lone PC Engine pickup for $20. I got Dungeon Explorer. This is the Japanese version. The one table that had so much good turbo stuff. Like, I think at one point I was like, I love overpriced shooters. He's like, I love selling overpriced shooters. I was very tempted to get Final Soldier. It was $100, but then I reminded myself I have the Turbo Mini. I technically own it. I can play it any way I want and not feel guilty. And then after I paid for this, I let out a "oh my fucking god." Emperor Fox said, "What?" And I said, I just realized that Dungeon Explorer is on the Turbo Mini. But yeah, I got, if you're going to pick up any Turbo games, I guess get them while the cheap is good. Just because there really isn't that much. Even some of the Japanese stuff at this point isn't really that inexpensive by comparison, even if it's not an overpriced shooter. Like, I'm talking like the VNs and all that stuff that you can't play anyway. On the Cube, this I cannot believe. This is my 3rd time owning both of these. Rogue Leader and Rebel Strike. Why is that? I'll be honest. I really love space shooters. I love Star Fox and whatnot. I love Crimson Skies. That game is phenomenal. At the time, I was looking for something similar to Crimson Skies because I had played that before I actually played these. And something about the way the GameCube handles, like I felt like the ship kind of just like right into the middle of the screen constantly, and it was just kind of jarring. But then having watched like a bunch of these retro handheld emulation things, a lot of people use Rogue Leader as a test demo because it's actually a very demanding game. And watching all this gameplay, frame drops and all, I was like, you know what? Kind of want to play it again. And one booth had both, so it only made sense for me to bundle them together and pick up both. Also on the PSP, got a copy of Dungeons & Dragons Tactics. This was bundled with the Death Jr. and the Croc game. This is, admittedly, this is a little bit more of the traditional Baldur's Gate style, and I did recently pick up Lord of the Rings Tactics. When I say more of the Baldur's Gate style, I mean like that traditional invisible dice roll, you just lose for no apparent reason nonsense. But it looks so good, oddly, so I wanted to pick it up because I'd never played it. I did a trade with 22 while I was crashing at his house. Again, thanks for having me. Jamestown Plus. Now, a bunch of you guys know, when this came out from Limited Run, I scoffed at it. Because, truthfully, I finished the original Jamestown and just did not fucking like it. I thought it was a piece of shit. Everybody who got it recently in pickup videos and all that stuff, I've been watching those, and I was like, you know what? I already own it digitally. Let me try it again. Right before the show. So if I see it there, I'll just get it. And I played through, I think, the first stage with 2 or 3 of the different ships. Because I think it automatically updated my Jamestown to Jamestown Plus, I think. I can't remember. But I do own Jamestown Plus digitally somehow. And I was like, wow, this is pretty... fuck. I gotta go buy it. And 22 happened to have an extra copy, so we just did a trade straight across. So that worked out. Now, 360. I pulled my 360 out of storage. It's been chilling here for a bit. And now, after I bring all this stuff over, because not all of it's backwards compatible, now apparently Xbox may be looking into further backwards compatible stuff. That's a may. This could be outdated by the time I put this up. So, did watch a video on compilations recently, since this whole digital future fear and all that nonsense. Again, whenever this comes up, that may or may not have come to pass. But Namco Virtual Museum. This has Mr. Driller Online, Pac-Man Champion Edition, the original version, and Galaga Legions, which truthfully, that's the reason why I picked this one up. It also has a bunch of the older games on it. But Galaga Legions and Galaga Legions DX are they're basically Pac-Man Championship Edition versions of Galaga. And it's flashy, it gives you seizures, it's bright, it's loud, the bass shakes the walls. It is so much fun, way better than the original. And then Pac-Man Championship Edition, I played the second one a lot on the Xbox Live Arcade back in the day. Like, even my wife, when she saw me play it, she's like, "Oh, you're trying to decompress." I would just run through levels with that, and the music was always good too. Enslaved, Odyssey to the... Is it West? Yeah, West. Can't remember. All right. I'm putting this out there. I finished this a very long time ago. I did used to own this game. I got it digitally on Steam because I was trying to save space, and I've regretted it ever since. To everybody I sent a picture of saying, "Look what I picked up," who then responded with, "How the fuck have you not played that?" Relax. It's been played, it's been finished, and truthfully, I kind of want to replay it because I like Andy Serkis. Ninja Blade, this is a From Software title, as is Chrome Hounds. Don't ask. As is Tenchu Z. It's not that I find myself being on like a big From Software collection kick. Although I did see a copy of Forever Kingdom that really hurt for me to pass on, but it was just way too much money than what I wanted to spend on it. These are all exclusive to the 360. They are not backwards compatible. They have not been re-released. And a lot of people have actually told me Chrome Hounds, it's not great compared to Armored Core, but it's still pretty good. So, since you can't get it anywhere, I figured let me check it out. Same thing with Tenchu Z. Can't get it anywhere, so I figured let me check it out. Same deal with Ninja Blade, which a lot of people have said it's actually not half bad. And some people have even told me they prefer it over Sekiro, because I truthfully did not like Sekiro at all. And this is brand new. Majin and the Forsaken Kingdom. This shot up in price a long time ago. I don't know why. And I got this literally brand new sealed for $20 at the show. I didn't bother negotiating on this because there was nothing else for me to bundle with it. But and it looks like it came into stock with them back in February 27th of 2023 and is literally sat there. I own this. I own the PAL version on the PS3. And I got that because, truthfully, it was the least expensive way to play it. That's also brand new sealed. So I'm going to be parting ways with that to play it on the 360 because everybody knows stuff that's cross-plat between PS3 and 360 tends to run a little bit better on the 360. Now the last two pickups. I've been really into, not Nintendo powers, but like the cool, I'll say covers for the purpose of like putting up on walls. Not like ripping them apart. I mean like framing them, you know? So, Super Castlevania 4, because it's Castlevania. Super Castlevania 4 is my favorite, followed by Rondo. And this one I had as a kid, and this is actually very nostalgic to me, and I was very excited to find this. This is the Illusion of Gaia issue of Nintendo Power. This is how I found out about the game, truthfully. And I was so hyped about it. This was the first Quintet game I ever played. And out of that whole Quintet trilogy, Illusion of Gaia is my favorite. I know Terranigma I got spoiled on due to the internet, and I do want to replay it to see if I think anything different. That game mechanically is a lot better, but Illusion of Gaia, right time and place for me. Kid going through all these historical events, all these historical parts of time. He's like in school. That's what I was learning about in school at the time. So it could not have come out at a better period. And when I bought it brand new, I got it with the t-shirt, and I wore that t-shirt into the ground. I was, truthfully, on my way back to New York, I was actually on Etsy trying to see if anybody does like copies or, you know, repros of the t-shirt. And a bunch of people do, but ironically, they're all out of stock. That's it for the pickups, honestly. It's still a lot of stuff. The good news is I came in under budget by $80. So that's all well and good. I do think when it comes to retro stuff for me at this point, other than a few odds and ends, because I was chasing that goddamn Yu-Gi-Oh game on the OG Xbox the whole freaking show and couldn't find it. Same thing with Sonic 06. That wasn't greatest hits. I think conventions are really the way for me to go. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more engaging. But there's also some stuff I know I'm better off getting online or through trades or eBay or what have you. One particular game was Psycho Dream, which is a Super Famicom run-and-gun Castlevania-ish looking game. Somebody had a box complete version for $150. You can get the cart for $60. It'd be cool to have a $70 box, but yeah, I kind of prefer coming in under budget $80. You know what I mean? But this was fun. Can't wait to do this again with the guys. They're probably going to put up their own pickup videos at one point. But yeah, another one in the books for not too many games. Wow, for the Midwest Gaming Classic. And I know the Game On Expo recently happened as well, and a lot of people have been putting up those videos. I kind of want to check that one out too. I think that'd be a lot of fun as well. I've never been to Arizona, and this time I get to wear short pants. Anyway, I've been Alex, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.